I will recognize Brother Chris Compton to come and give our financial report before my report.
Our audit report begins on page 172 in your digest of reports. And let me begin on page 179 with our auditor's letter. This is our unqualified or clean letter from our independent auditor, Joel D. Collum, Jr. And as we move forward in the digest reports on page 181, you will see the statement of net assets available for benefits, or our balance sheet. A statement of net assets available for benefit is the reporting style for benefit programs, and in 2020, the board elected to change presentation of the financial statements from nonprofit standards to employee benefit standards to more completely align with their operations as a benefit program. And you'll see in that statement the total net assets ended the year at $92.8 million, a gain of $15.6 million, or 20.2%. Our debt ratio for 2020, which compares our total liabilities to our total net assets, was 19.7% down, which was down 1.84% from 2019. And on the next page, page 182, begins our statement of changes in net assets available for benefits. Our participant contributions were down $3.5 million over 2019, totaling $6.19 million in 2020. Understand that these numbers include contributions to our annuity and self-directed pools, which are also drawn out of our investments to be put into those pools. Our total investment income was at a gain of $13.7 million for 2020. Withdrawals for participant benefits were down 34.13% over 2020, totaling $5.9 million. And so we ended the year with net assets available for benefit of $74.5 million, which is an increase of 23.01% over 2019. And on page 183 begins the notes section of the auditor's report, and I would like just to highlight a few of those. On page 186, note 4 gives our investments in marketable securities and instruments. This note summarizes the ending market value and the appreciation or depreciation of those assets based on cost. And then on page 188, note number 8 gives the fair value measurements. And then on page 193, note 16, subsequent events. This note talks about the uncertainty that's still possible caused by the COVID pandemic. And as we move forward on to page 194 is the schedule of participant benefits and administrative costs. This page basically just gives a breakdown of the outflows of participants as well as the operational expenses to the plan. The total outflows for participants was $5.9 million, down $3 million from 2019. And then on the next page, page 195, is the proposed budget for 2021. In 2020, you'll see that we were under budget expenses by 13.7%. For 2021, we're proposing our budget with an increase of 6.5%, with the biggest percentage of that attributed to the hiring of a new auditor. And on the last page, page 196, is the breakdown of salaries and benefits for our departments. If there are any questions, we'll be happy to take those at the end of our report. Thank you.
As you no doubt expected, 2020 changed a lot of our everyday operations. It was the longest stretch since I started working at the office in 2006 that I have gone without traveling to a meeting or a conference. Every event that we usually participate in was either canceled or done virtually. We have spent more time on Zoom, WebEx, Teams, and Skype than anything else we've done this year. We had to learn to work from home just like the rest of the world on the fly, even pushing ahead with significant changes like transition to outside record keepers, working through investment changes, as well as making adjustments to a new way of doing business. We found that it wouldn't be harmful for us to work from home if everybody else in the world was working from home as well. We saw a significant shift in business hours from a typical workday to almost a 24-hour workday. This ended up being an item of concern for many businesses, and we ended up having to set up parameters to help protect employees. 2020 also caused our office to be much more involved with our larger benefit groups, the Church Alliance and the Church Benefits Association. We have always been involved in these groups, but with the flurry of legislative changes that happened in 2020, the CEO groups met on a more regular basis than any time in the past. The groups also met to talk through COVID effects on our denominations, our plans, and our staffs. While in 2020 we didn't set any records in enrollments, we did still exceed our expectations for last year. Total contributions for 2020 exceeded $6.4 million in new funds into the plan, the bulk of which came from our participants. Our office continues to spend a lot of time educating groups and individuals about the importance of making adequate contributions to their accounts. We are trying to help participants realize that the idea of earnings from their investments will be enough to carry them through their retirement goals is in error. In 2020, we also made the addition of outside record keepers to help enhance our participants' savings rates so that more of our clients are adequately prepared for their future ministries. Contributions were up 6% in 2020, a year in which we were expecting to see a decrease. We expected to see a significant downturn in contributions with our churches not meeting due to COVID-19 restrictions, but based on conversations with outside denominational leaders as well as our own, we believe that churches that receive PPP loans could maintain or increase contributions and benefits for their employees. A word of thanks should be given to the Church Alliance's efforts in talking with congressional leaders to quickly help make the PPP available for churches and church organizations. We are glad to see the increase in contributions, and we are also continuing to see an increased interest and demand for our institutional accounts. We are praying that this continues and continues to grow the outreach and the results for our institutions already involved in these accounts. We have had several conversations with new churches and church organizations interested in setting up something for their future ministry as well. As we talk more and more about having a robust financial plan for our ministries, we are seeing more and more churches come alongside the idea of positioning for the future opportunities that haven't yet been presented. We are praying that this translates into a tangible result for our individual churches as well as the denomination. This thought works hand in hand with Executive Office's push for the 3 for 30 initiative. Similar attention continues to trend up for our annuity pools and our self-directed options. As you can see from the trend lines on the chart, we are moving in the right direction. Fewer cash outs and more monthly settlements. We see our larger accounts pick longer-term payout options, which fulfills our office's goal of building funds to sustain our participants throughout their retirement years. The more accounts that pick longer-term payouts, the better prepared our participants are for retirement. We will always have cash outs, and we don't expect that ever to fall to zero. Many participants need cash on the front end of their settlement to help prepare everything for their retirement years. We would like most of our cash outs to be part of a combination settlement, where they are taking a lump sum amount at the start, but they have monthly installments on the remaining balance to cover them through their retirement years. In the plan sponsor world of 401ks and 403bs, a lot of interest has been added in the last few years of providing monthly payouts and lifetime income for participants. In 2020, we saw a massive push in the plan sponsor world over guaranteed income for life, even legislative bills being introduced and pushing the idea that it is needed for workers in retirement. These lifetime payout options are something that the Board of Retirement has been offering our participants since the 1980s. Others are now seeing the need to care for their employees not only during their working career, but also throughout their retirement years. Our Free Will Baptist employees, with the addition of housing allowance for ordained ministers, have an unmatched product in the open market. Anytime we are on the phone with a pastor and his financial advisor from his church, it is reiterated that our plan benefits are unmatched for our people. "2020 ended on a bright spot when it came to investments. We saw one of the longest bull markets end in the spring of 2020, only for it to rebound entirely by the end of the year. It allowed us to end the year with positive returns. with our default strategy earning over 20% and our maximum strategy earning over 23% for the year. As we enter the summer of 2021, we are seeing the economy start to open back up. COVID-19 cases have continued to decline across much of the developed world with the rollout of vaccination campaigns. However, in many of the emerging markets, we are continuing to see high infection rates, with India and Brazil experiencing some of the worst. A full economic recovery will not happen until we see these emerging markets continue to bring down their infection rates. Until then, we can expect the economy to operate below its full potential. In the U.S., with vaccine rollouts now accelerating, reopenings picking up pace, and further talks of financial stimulus potentially on the way, growth expectations have improved dramatically. Real GDP forecast for the U.S. is hovering around 6.5% and 7%. We are seeing wage growth and unemployment numbers trending in the right direction, but despite the pandemic-related restrictions and supply bottlenecks we have seen over the last several months, most economies have kept up capacity with the help of fiscal policy aimed at keeping businesses solvent. The economy has also added new capacity, creating new businesses during and coming out of the pandemic. As you can see in this chart of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, from December 31st of 2020 to June 1st of 2021, we have seen a 13.5% increase in the index and an increase of 18.2% from its peak in February of 2020. Stocks continue to make record highs during the first part of 2021, with small cap equities holding the best overall returns, followed closely by large cap. Here at the Board of Retirement, we work very hard to make sure that our participants can benefit from the earning potential of the financial markets. You are allowing your retirement money or your institutional money to grow and work for you to reach your future ministry goals. As we see volatility in the markets, understand that volatility will enable opportunities for repositioning in the portfolio and the ability to purchase assets at a discount for more gains to be achieved in the portfolio. In 2020, Board of Retirement also onboarded Northwest Plan Services to be our record keeper. Through a lot of remote work on both sides, we were able to switch over to their services July of 2020. We have seen a lot of improvements to the participants' access side of our plan, as well as enhancements in the online security. Northwest Plan Services came highly recommended by other denominational retirement plans, including the Church of the Brethren and the Presbyterian Church of America. Both of these church plans have been highly satisfied with the results Northwest Plan Services has provided them. After working with them for the last year, we have settled into a good working relationship. While the process is different from before, we believe that the additional benefits to our participants outweigh any transitional headaches that we faced. Northwest Plan Services assists with compliance issues that the IRS requires for church plans, such as annual testing of non-QCOs, auto-enrollment requirements for each employer group, and keeping employers' notifications to employees as part of the enhancement of our office. Also, they assist our office in processing allocation changes for our participants and giving participants more access to make adjustments to their accounts, all from a secure two-factor authentication login. The addition to our plan also adds new technology applications to strike a daily value for our accounts and speed up the processing time for investment changes and withdrawals from participant accounts. Previously, it could take up to 45 days to process a request for allocation change or a withdrawal because of the need of processing after earnings were posted at the end of the month. Now allocation changes are processed in the next business day, and withdrawals can be processed within a week and settlements within 2 weeks. The transition also adds a refined look and feel to participant accounts, giving participants access to retirement readiness projections, educational materials, and robust calculators to help them get on track with their retirement planning. In 2009, when we added the conservative option, we ultimately wanted to make this a set rate fund, but we didn't have the funds available to accomplish it. So our conservative strategy was as close as we could get in order to allow our participants a less volatile option. In 2021, with participant growth, we had the opportunity to enhance our conservative option to the set rate strategy. This strategy will pay a rate that is set by our board, allowing participants a more stable investment strategy. We migrated from the conservative investment over to this new model in May of 2021. This set rate fund was the #1 request from our participants. They have been asking for it since we opened the conservative option. We will be able to set the rate based on the performance of the investment and be able to adjust the rate to match what we are projecting from our managers. Many other church plans run options like this to give their participants at least a baseline of earnings. A strategy like this was not available when we first started because the amount of assets that are required to set one up. After talking with our investment consultants about moving forward with this option, they could line up investment managers that were willing to help get us started. This fund will run multi-managers inside of it to help us set the rate of return for our participants. This option will give participants that are uneasy with the volatility in the market a place to invest without rolling out of our plan. An essential aspect of this type of plan is that when we outperform the set rate, we will be able to provide a bonus to our participants once the fund earns over its reserve protection amount, or it will allow us to adjust the rate moving forward. In 2019, we launched the first ever conference that this office has ever hosted. We received such good feedback and requests from other departments to continue to provide this resource to the denomination. In 2020, we were looking to continue our Reinvest conference, but like most things, COVID-19 had other plans for us all. We decided to push forward with our educational podcast named the Reinvest Podcast. A podcast has been in the works for a few years now, but kept being put on the back burner for other things that we were trying to get started and enhance here at the Board of Retirement. We launched this podcast in November of last year, and I hope that everyone has had a chance to listen to it. We have learned a lot as we've walked through getting everything set up, and we continue to evolve as we move forward. For any of you that haven't had a chance to listen to the podcast, we are trying to cover topics ranging from personal finance to the business side of ministry, covering issues that are relevant to ministers as well as the congregants that they minister to. We have seen more individual users for our podcast than with any of the seminars or sessions that we have put on for the last several years. We have created a new website to house the podcast and some additional resources for the denomination at reinvestfwb.com. We've developed educational materials, downloadables, and calculators to help any Free Will Baptist to better their financial outlook on our website. The website also hosts a blog for additional resources. As we move forward with developing our podcast and blog, we will have guests talk through financial topics. If you would be interested in being a guest on the podcast, please let me know. We try to keep our podcasts around 15 to 20 minutes, as all of you that listen know, so that they are easy to listen to during your commute. We feel this podcast will be beneficial to our denomination and as a promotional outreach for our department. As we grow our base, we look to use this to help promote our office and reach groups of individuals that we might not otherwise have access to. The Board of Retirement has been a member of the Church Alliance for more than 30 years. The Church Alliance is a diverse network of 37 church benefit organizations that advocate for employee benefits, including retirement and health, for approximately 1 million clergy and lay workers and their families. Since its establishment in 1974, the Church Alliance has worked with Congress and regulators to address unique relationships between faith leaders and religious organizations, related employee benefits, and varying government traditions practiced by this country's religious denominations. While the membership in this organization is diverse in its makeup of denominations and beliefs, we focus on things that are shared in common to work together to benefit our participants. A few areas of work this past year from the Church Alliance have dealt with COVID-19 relief. The Church Alliance advocated for the extension of the Paycheck Protection Program to the religious organizations and continued support through the Employee Retention Tax Credit. We have also urged Congress to provide church organizations with COVID-19 liability protection as well as tax incentives to help offset the cost of modifications to the workplace and help protect the health and safety of our workers. Also in the area of Retirement 2.0, the Church Alliance generally supports congressional efforts to improve retirement security for Americans by expanding access to retirement plans and improving their affordability and efficiency. such as the Neil Brady Bill. As these efforts occur, the Church Alliance is ready and able to work with policymakers to help ensure that such proposals accommodate for the unique aspects of church plans. Church Alliance also works with healthcare and with commodity laws. The Church Alliance members invest millions or billions in plan assets for the benefit of the denominational employees they serve. Since 1996, federal security laws have broadly exempted church benefit boards from burdensome investment management regulation. Since church benefit boards operate pooled plan assets with other denominational assets, like our institutional investment program, federal security laws exempts church benefit boards. Legislation introduced in the 116th Congress would have expanded this church plan exemption. We are working with our congressional champions to reintroduce this legislation in the 117th Congress. The benefits of being a member of the Church Alliance allows us to stand with other denominations for the common good of our participants and our churches. If you have stories or issues that could be used to help further our voice in Congress, please contact our office. Mark Twain says the secret of getting ahead is getting started. The majority of Americans don't start saving for retirement until later in life, causing us to have a retirement crisis here in the U.S. Many people sacrifice their future needs for their present wants. This is not the model that we've been instructed to follow. In Proverbs 6:6-8, we are instructed to look to the ant and consider her ways and be wise. 2020 has showed many of us how quickly our world can change and disrupt our plan or trajectory of our lives. Having a strong financial plan will not shield you from these unexpected events, but it will provide you with options to navigate out of them, as well as allow you to take advantage of opportunities that others will not be able to take advantage of. The Board of Retirement was created over 50 years ago to give Free Will Baptists a vehicle to accomplish this financial planning. The longer you put off preparing for your future, the harder it becomes to be ready. Our vision is that every Free Will Baptist employee, church agency have a strong financial plan for the future ministry that God has for them. We are here to help you as you prepare for your future ministry. If you have questions or would like help getting started, please contact our office and let us help you and your church. Thank you.